need outreach, and like we need people making videos on TikTok. Even though it's owned by Singapore, but people think it's owned by China. Like it's an algorithm of outreach, and like I feel like we're undervaluing that.
It's like the attention economy. It's really about attention.
Well, yeah, I agree with what Shane's saying. Like, think about Solana, for example. Solana was paying everybody off, all the major influencers, on pretty much retainer to make content about them constantly. And then you have the other part of this, which is the marketing effort was centralized by the venture capitalists who wanted people to get in so they could get a return on their money. So, why isn't Pulsechain known? Well, I think it's two things. I think it's the reputation of Richard in the community. I think he pissed a lot of people off. That certainly doesn't help. But we have noticed this bear market that there's a lot of people that are coming around to Richard. But 15,000 active daily active users, just not a lot. And Pulsechain hasn't put green candles out yet. That's a big thing too. So VCs have money to pump their own bags. We crowdfunded the money for Richard to potentially pump our bags. I would imagine he's going to do something of that sort. I'm not expecting it per se, but I think that is coming. I think it's going to come. Who knows? After the SEC stuff is done, maybe. Although he has demonstrated that he's not afraid to pump the chart while in legal litigation. So, yeah, social media, man. Social media and concentrated, coordinated effort does quite a bit for a layer one, I think.
All right, so yeah, let's look at two charts, Rags. By the way, if anybody thinks I'm not being, the whole reason I'm doing this space is to get people to be bullish about Pulsechain in the right way. Because here's my argument, Rags, is that Pulsechain is at a precipice of like do or die, right? And here, I pinned the Bitcoin liquidation chart real quick just so everybody knows what that is and you know where to find it. So look, there is most of the liquidations that will occur are going to be at $25,000. Like that's the big one, right? That's where Bitcoin is really going to become cheap, right? And so I think from this level, 160,000 Bitcoin is going to get it there, and I think that it is feasible. Like that could potentially happen because nobody in the intelligence agency is going to want to turn over war chest that size to Trump's administration, knowing that he's going to be buying it. So why not buy it, and sell it to him three times more money? So anyway, that I think that's the big liquidity event that we could potentially have. But here's really the chart that sort of like sparked my idea to do this space, and it is a Pulsechain chart. All right, the first one, right? And so this is a chart that I haven't seen anybody else share, and I think this is actually the most important chart of all of Pulsechain, like literally the most important chart. So this is a chart of PLS to ETH value. And the reason I bring this up is because if your shit is not going up against ETH, you should just be holding ETH. Like point blank simple, most liquidity, most places, like just everything about it, right? You're just so much better off holding ETH. The only reason you would not hold ETH is because you have a play that's going to do better numbers. Like at the end of the day, that's where we're all at. Pulsechain being so like as for a whole chain, is incredibly, let's say, undervalued. I mean, undervalued doesn't even begin to describe that situation, right? Like there should be a lot more money in it, is all I'm trying to say. And there very easily could be. And so what you look at is that we've been sitting on a support level for 10 weeks, right? If you look down to the bottom part, the waveform chart, I don't know if you look at these Rags, but like, so that's it's like a Fourier transform. It's kind of like market cipher,
The monetary
that's what I was
inertia,
saying.
basically, up or down. It's the
Yeah.
flow. Yeah, market cipher. I've seen this. Yes.
So MFI, like that's kind of like the money flow index, like that's kind of what you're saying. And so look, if you look at that, even so it's still negative, right? So the MFI is still negative, meaning it's like below that zero axis, but it's becoming less negative, right? So anyway, it's been in an upward trend for like 10 weeks at this point. We had a buy signal back at the end of June. That's that green dot, right? And what I'm saying is like we are so close. Like you see how it's starting to curve down, and if if it prints another red dot, that's going to be a sell signal. We can actually go down another regression in valuation to where that blue line is. So we will not be benefiting from not holding ETH, right? From being a pulse chain, you're going to lose more value than if you held ETH. Like that's even if ETH goes down, that means pulse chain would be doing worse against it. You're better off holding ETH. But we're sort of like at that critical decision point where we do have right now at least somewhat of we're getting a value that's actually breaking up above that channel. Like see that the two white lines on the upper part of the chart, right? And each time it has closed above that range, it has broken out. One time it broke out for like 2 weeks and then it came right back down. And then that's when we got the big breakout that brought it up to like whatever it is, like
Dude, so
3017 or something like that.
so CryptoFace created Market Cipher, right?
He didn't. So there's a lot of lore around this. CryptoFace did not create. Market Cipher is like a suite of indicators, right? So he created the suite of indicators, but the waveform that he's using is a very known, like well-known, well-researched, well-established quantitative market instrument for a long time. Like it's been around since like 70s,
See,
80s, something like that. So
I mean, but he's so the reason I'm bringing that up is because he's loaded, right? I mean, he's been around for a long time, a Bitcoiner. And I think he
yeah,
knows Richard because of that as well. My
oh yeah,
question to you,
no, everybody
Trillion,
knows.
is which chart do you think Richard is using to make his decisions on Pulse Chain? Do you think it's this?
God willing, it's this one. God willing, it's this one. Like, all right, so my version, I have Market Cipher. Like, I've basically every indicator that you can imagine, I've bought at some point. Like, I've done a retarded amount of research. I won't even tell you how much money I've spent on indicators in my life. It's probably like sad
Is this the
how
best
much money
one?
I've spent on it. This is mine. Like, this is not Market Cipher. Market Cipher could show you the same information. It just depends on settings. Mine is dialed in specifically to crypto, and I have like a different one for options. But they're all pretty much
Is
similar.
it shared or do you have it locked down?
No, this isn't shared. I don't share
Got
this
it.
with anybody. That's how I make all of
Got
my
it. Got
money.
it.
So like I have not ever shared this like with anybody ever. I get me another 10x. I'll go retire and I'll share everything with you guys. But yeah, I'm like 10 million short of that. But we'll get there. But I do want to share this part of it with you guys because the way this instrumentation works, it's not about coming up with a view that nobody else sees. It's the opposite, actually. You want to look at what all the big players that are using algorithms and automated trading and market maker, you want to figure out what are they looking at. Because if you know what they're looking at, you could be in trend with them. Like they say the trend is your friend. It's not like, it's because when you follow a trend, you have friends, right? It's not like, anyway, it's kind of like a backwards way to think about it, but you want to be doing what the big players are doing. If they're buying, you want to be buying. If they're selling, you want to be selling. And so this is the best one that I've ever come up with that has fallen in line with not just Pulse, not just like, but like with pretty much everything across the board with any substantial liquidity. Again, if you have like a shit coin with like 10K of liquidity, indicators are not going to help you because like one person can come in and just wick the chart and it doesn't matter what your indicator set, right? But this works for like more liquid assets. So this is basically what we're looking at right now. That buy signal is in that perfect range. You see it sits on that gray line. That's a buy signal in that area is usually very bullish. If it goes down lower than that, and I can show you because that's what happened on Bitcoin with this last sell-off, it's likely to make another dip down. Like anyway, so the close is perfect, right? It's exactly on that line. It's been sitting there for 10 weeks, right? So this isn't just like some like, oh, for an hour it looks like it's doing good. This is 10 weeks of support. And our valuation against ETH is now coming up above that channel. And so my argument is that we have to close gaining relative strength to ETH. And if that happens, that's when all of the money will come in, will have a reason to come into Pulse Chain. Whether or not they're looking at the same metrics, you could get to this conclusion a bunch of different ways. Like, so they don't have to be looking at this exact same one. But I know that this waveform is used pretty much everywhere. Like
All right.
absolutely, like every firm
So let me
uses this.
confirm this. So you're basically banking on the smart big money out there has their eyeballs on Pulsechain, but they're not ready to get in yet until the conditions present themselves properly. And you're saying this potential breakout could be one of those conditions, or they could help support that breakout.
Exactly. So if Pulsechain looks like a safe harbor for capital, if you have like sell-offs when they occur on Bitcoin and Ethereum, they last a long time because you have a lot of capital, a lot of players, and you could be selling for months and months and months. And we've seen that with Bitcoin, where it just kind of bleeds for months and months and months. And what I'm saying is that the real value proposition of Pulsechain is not that it's going to be on this exchange or that exchange or whatever the fuck, like this, all this like onboarding, like hype talk nonsense, right? The fact of the matter is that is it going to retain value or rise above the value of Ethereum? That makes it a safe, like smart decision to put your money there. And as far as being undervalued, it is one of the most undervalued environment ecosystems out there, right? So that's sort of my point. And the point is that if Richard has this top tick ETH at like 3,800, if that is all true, I don't know any of the stuff for a fact, right? What I'm saying is that right now, within the next, like I said, 24 hours, I was being like outrageous, right? But this is that decision point, right? Where unless you believe that ETH is just going to rocket up past like 4 grand and like make new highs and do all of this stuff in the environment that we have now, unless that is your belief, the only logical, like sensible decision would be to use that ETH to capitalize Pulsechain because it is incredibly undervalued against pretty much everything else out there.
So right about now would be a great opportunity to swap your ETH for Pulse potentially.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's where my head is at, and that's what I'm saying. It's like if unless Richard wants to see the rest, if it's his wallet, right? I don't know anything for a fact, but this would be the make or break moment to do that. If he waits any longer, we could signal on like and Pulsechain sells off again. We're going to be waiting another 60 to 90 days for that bottom to consolidate because we already sort of have a pretty decent consolidated bottom, a retest, like every technical that you would want to see, right? Maybe we retest that level that we dipped down to again. Maybe that'll happen on like a big wick or something. Maybe one more whale goes out. But essentially, like this is that pivotal point. You know, like either you're going to bleed out your
What's the
ETH
price of ETH right now?
It's like
It's 27. It's 2696, so it's basically 2700. But that's after like a very like I think this is a dead cat bounce, and I can show you. We can go through the ETH chart in the same way, and I can show you why I think it's a dead cat bounce. I could even show you exactly the price that I think that this is going to stop at. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, I'm trying to think. You know, Richard has led on that he does have a million ETH roundabout. So, and that's I guess that's his personal stash. So that would be what roughly 2.7 billion right now, based on current price.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So it's like if I were in his shoes, would I want to take a portion of that 2.7 billion? Like I guess 100 or 200 million dollars would just do really really cool things for price. But at the same time, if he holds off, you know, waits for the rate cuts and waits for the my biggest problem or my biggest question is, do you dump a huge bucket of water in the Sahara Desert and expect something to grow? I.e., we're in the in a bearish scenario right now, and if he dumps a bunch of liquidity, pumps the price, or a bunch of people going to dump on his head. Like how would you square that in your head if you had access to all that capital, but you also know that there's so many people out there that are looking to dump, and the 4 zeros and a 4 was a key level because that was the break even point for the people that got, you know, the 2x to 2.5x multiplier during the sack phase for Pulsechain. So how do you make sense of all that? What would you do if you're in Richard's shoes?
So, the short answer is that I would use that ETH to capitalize if I cared about Pulsechain, right? Like, let's say I'm Richard and I give a shit about Pulsechain. I would begin to use that ETH while it's still worth 2,700. Maybe it touches 3K. What I think is going to end up happening is the price is going to come up just short of 3K and then go back to like 1800, 1600, something like that, and we're just going to bleed for a while. So what I would do in his position is use, whether it's SAC funds, whether, if it's his personal money, maybe he doesn't care, maybe he can stand to lose $1 billion, but I mean, I wouldn't like to lose $1 billion. What I would do, given the technicals, given the fact that I know that most of the whales who we're going to sell have sold, like they're, and obviously on the way up they're going to sell, but the signal that it sends, because it's such a deep pool, like I wouldn't buy my whole bag, right? I wouldn't come in and just buy a million ETH worth of, but what I would do is every 4 hours, 100 ETH, 100 ETH, 100 ETH, 100 ETH, and that would essentially turn off the motive to sell pretty much for everyone. Like if someone really wanted to sell into like stable coins and all this stuff, maybe they could exit through liquidity and all of this kind of shit. But if you see 100 ETH every hour, every 4 hours, whatever it is, right? Like, so systematically, that would turn off the sell button pretty much for everyone, because you know that there's, is he going to buy 100,000? Is he going to buy 500,000? Is he going to put 1 million into? Like, you don't know, right? So that's what I'm saying, is that if you just come in and do a big market buy, maybe you are going to get opportunistic whales that are just going to wick it right back to where it was. But
Which,
if you
mind
do
you,
it
he has said in the
systematically,
past. He's been on stream. That he's talking about, you do what is it? You double one side, you 4x the price with one giant market buy. He's talked about that a couple times on stream.
he knows the
Yeah.
math. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like he knows the math really well, and what I think is that he has someone in his circle that looks at this stuff very similar to what I just showed you guys. Like most people on Twitter, this is how you know that most of the TA you guys are being fed on X is horse. Like no one is going to show you real things on here because it's value. Like you think your seed phrase is valuable. Yeah, sure, like it's valuable to you, but like being able to have this sort of like predictive analysis that actually works is like, battle tested, all this kind of stuff. Nobody's showing you that on X. Like they're just showing you things that hype you up, make you want to buy at the wrong time, and like and all that kind of fucking nonsense. But I know that there is someone in his circle who is very good at this, like very good at this, and that's kind of where my head is at. Like I just think that if you don't act now, like that's why I'm like coming on here with like a sense of urgency. Is like this is that window. Like this is that window. Maybe he'll wait for it to try to top out at 3K and try to like hit that or whatever. I mean, maybe, right? But the set point that everyone has in their mind, right, is that his buy was around 3,800, and like if you try to sell any appreciable amount of ETH at 38, like you're not getting 3,800 for it, right? You're just gonna wick it right back down to like, I don't know, 33 or like whatever. So yeah, that's kind of, I think that
All right, let me
this is
ask you.
the
Let me send you a
opportunity.
different dude. So your brain works so much faster than mine, and I got to slow your ass down so I can squeak in a question, and that's a compliment. But let me ask you this: what about, okay? So swap for ETH. Would you take swap ETH for Pulse Chain? Would you take some of that ETH or some of that Pulse and then swap it down even further? And there's some projects out there that have been extremely solid this entire time, and it's additional leverage play in Pulse Chain. Are there any other plays that you would do besides swapping ETH for Pulse? Any other plays within the Pulse Chain community?
All right, so that's a great question. Yeah, I'll slow down. Sorry about that.
Nope, don't
I just
apologize. I'll just cut you off. Just don't get offended.
I don't know nothing at all. I'm glad you're here. So look, when you're moving those sums of money, you never ever ever are you if you only buy the most liquid token on, everything else that's bonded to it will also appreciate. You're essentially giving out so what essentially happens when whales of like this size enter markets with size like that is that they will end up providing liquidity across the board. Like they will go and look at either the most holders or there's all sorts of metrics that you could look at, right? So for example, like I know everybody's average hold time on like pretty much all of the assets. Like I don't know them like by heart, right? But I can look them up. But essentially, like you would want to look into pools where people tend to have a very high hold duration, right? So they're not basically just like flipping it, like people hold it for like a week and they sell it. Like you would avoid all that kind of shit. And you would basically want to capitalize into the most liquid pools because they're probably bonded to the most other things. And Yeah, so it wouldn't ever just go into one asset. Like when I say capitalize Pulse, I just mean like the Pulse chain like ecosystem. Like obviously he's not going to buy like dog shit with that's like emojis and like that
What are
kind of
you
stuff.
looking at besides Pulsechain within the Pulsechain ecosystem?
What am I'm to me, the most interesting stuff are things that have liquidity. I know that's not going to be popular because everybody wants to make 1,000x on like some shitcoin nobody's ever heard of. I'll have small positions. Maybe if I see them kind of like doing well, like that's how I got onto HOA pretty like at the beginning of the year, and I did pretty good with that. But to me, I'm making a list of what are the top most liquid assets. Those are the ones that I would pick off first. I would secondarily I would have anything that is bonded to those, right? So obviously you need to have a pairing, and has high hold durations by the holders that have sort of proven out over length of time that people hold this for a long time. Because at some point, like obviously I the hardest part about this is like how do you not provide an asymmetric advantage to arbitrage? That's the number one thing because arbitrage could actually ruin ratios. I mean, it could really kind of like fuck up a lot of things if you don't do it the right way. It's not even that it'll fuck it up. It essentially it'll allow someone to extract value in investing absolutely nothing just through arbitrage. So I'm looking at what are the most liquid tokens, and you want like specific tickers or
Yeah, just talk like what are you looking like? For example, I'll go first. I've been following the PTGC guys and then the UFO guys like against Pulse, man. Some of those tickers are just doing great this entire time, even through massive downside volatility. But and there's a lot of others, but I'm kind of curious what you're looking at too.
There's only one Rob coin.
all right, so yeah, of course we
Let's
love
fucking
Rob, right?
go,
So
baby.
look, here's all right. Everybody has seen the chart where Pulsex has been gaining relative strength against PLS, right? Like, so let's interpret that because I know that the metrics that I pointed out, right? Like, they're not this kind of the sexy ones. Most people don't even know what the fuck those metrics are, right? Nobody keeps track of like hold times. Like, who gives a shit, right? People are looking at ratios, and I would urge most people not to trade the ratio on a liquidity injection event like this. Why? What it actually means that the price of PLSX and PLS are both going down, but the PLSX value over PLS is going up. What does that mean? That means that there are more people accumulating in PLSX, which means more potential sell pressure of that asset, right? And because they're both still down, right? It still gives people most people will try to sell at break even. Straight up, like this is just what most people do, right? If people are down in their positions, some people are down horrendous. This is why I think like Inc has like a very hard cap at some price that's not nearly as high as most of you guys think it is. But yeah, unfortunately, like a lot of the things that have gained a ton of value, let's look at HOA for an example, right? To not make it like personal to the tokens that like most people like. Maybe it is personal to you. I apologize, but the HOA ratio against PLSX absolutely skyrocketed, right? Now look at it, right? It's still up. It's still up like big from when it launched and like maybe even from the beginning of the year and all this kind of shit. But that ratio has lost a tremendous percentage. Like if you measure it, it's shocking how much that could actually go down. And because people were over extended into lower liquidity. So what I would say is that would not be my first move. First, I would capitalize the chain, let the floppers flop, the people who think they're getting they're getting like a great price appreciation or have gotten a great price appreciation. I would wait for them to fold, and then I would come into the things that have conviction behind them. So basically, anything that's like really overvalued against PLS, I think there's going to be a dip in between. Like that's just my belief.
Yo, and
Again,
isn't
because
the
just because
average
it's
crypto
accrued more sell
user,
pressure.
don't they only hold crypto for like 2 to 3 weeks or something?
That's actually not true. I mean, Most meme coins, that is true, right? That see when nobody has a good definition for what is a meme coin, right? Because there are meme like so for Pepe actually has a pretty like long hold time. Like people have really held that coin. Why? I don't know. Like it's just it is what it is. There's a few other ones out there like so WIF has a high retention time. Mog has a high retention time. Like there's a few of them out there. XRP, believe it or not, like people never fucking sell it. Like they buy it and they just hold it. Like I don't know why, because shit has like always been 50 cents. So that's not to just disparage XRP. It's had a great pump. It's up at like 61 cents now. Hopefully it can make new highs and continue. So I'm not against any of that shit. But yeah, the reality is that things that are going to be are right now very overvalued or have gained a lot of valuation against PLS. They're going to not they're going to dip. Like that's what I'm trying to say is that all it means is that they have accrued more sell pressure than PLS has. But like let's say this continues for like a few weeks. Like let's say like there's 3 or 4. It doesn't even like it's not even that PLS or PLSX or any of these other ones have to like pump insane. As long as they're showing like an upward, like strong, like upward trajectory, right? A strong uptrend. Then I would start to feel more comfortable getting it like speculating into like lower liquid tokens.
Speculate.
But yeah, my
Oh,
first
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
yeah
you off. Actually, I did, but go ahead.
no, I was go ahead. I'll shut up. I think I was repeating
Yeah,
myself
no worries.
anyway.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
was
man.
curious. What's your what's your take on the importance of a true decentralized stablecoin and whether or not Richard is moving towards that in the background?
I personally believe Richard has sort of had his fill of crypto. I think that the decisions he's going to make within the next like week or I would even say like 1 week, like that. This is how close I think that we are. I can show you one other thing that maybe a lot of you guys don't know about. So Kai was actually in one of my spaces where I talked to him about like the 30, 60, 90-day thing. And if you I basically called it to the day. Like this last like dip and bounce that we had, I called it to like literally the day, like to like the 12-hour fucking candle. That we were going to get a reversal. Why? Because it is exactly 60 days from when we broke through the last support that we had. Which was 60 days ago. I'll give you guys a date. So one good thing you guys always want to do on your charts is there's something called cyclic lines on TradingView, and you want to use that feature actually, like use cyclic line. So exactly 60 days from it was May 19th, I believe, or hold on, let me give you guys an exact date. Let me give you guys. All right, so we broke down right here. It was what the 14th, I guess. Yeah. So basically, like around May 14th, if you check your chart, you're gonna see that it made this sort of like flag pattern at it was 4006, I think, between 406 and 4058, something in that range. And then it broke down, and I measured exactly 60 days from when it lost that support, and that's exactly when we had this reversal. So there is like this chart for whatever reason, like it seems like people are just kind of coming in, it's all random shit. This chart, the PLS chart, is probably one of the most predictable charts like I've ever seen. I mean, like maybe like Bitcoin, ETH, like they're a little bit better because they're just so liquid. But there's a high like it's like very highly periodic chart, right? And so like what my argument it really is that if we do not begin to establish any sort of like gaining trajectory on ETH, we're going to basically fall into another like essentially 60-day bottom consolidation where those like low cap coins, they're probably going to continue to do well, and Pulse will continue to lose value or not do anything essentially. And so that's kind of like the point we're at. I mean, we're so close to all-time lows that to break down into that range, I think we're in for like pretty much like nothing is going to happen on this chain for like what we're in. I mean, basically like December. I would be looking at like December, like something like that. So
Nothing would happen
yeah,
until you're
that's kind of
saying
where my
nothing
head
would
is at.
happen until December. Yeah.
Yeah, like the next sort of like opportunity we would have. Well, I mean, maybe not, maybe like November, like basically till after the election. Like that would be my sort of like, perspective on it. Yeah, if we break down, we make new lower lows, and it doesn't just immediately like skyrocket after that. It's going to consolidate for at least another 60, maybe even 90 days, which brings us into like mid-November, mid-December.
So in the past, there must have been a point when Bitcoiners saw that ETH was undervalued and they transferred Bitcoin into ETH. Are you saying we're seeing the same thing here? We're at a precipice where there's either a make or break point between going from ETH into Pulse, because Pulse will be the thing that goes up? Like, is that what you're saying in the grand scheme of things?
I'm saying that in order for Pulse Chain to look like a good haven for capital, right? Like we are essentially asking. Imagine somebody has like 10 to $50 million to invest into something, right? They know that what they're currently in will continue to bleed out for many months until whatever this event is with the Bitcoin that the government has hostage, to seize Bitcoin. When something happens with that, right? If you look at the one chart one chart back, right? So if you go up to the nest and you go ahead and open that up, CoinGlass, by the way, that's the name of the website. You guys should all check that out. Yep. So if you look at the bottom right hand of the chart, you're going to see CoinGlass. Like that's the site you can check all this stuff out on. And what you're going to see is that there's this liquidation, these liquidation candles, right? This liquidation zone, and you see that the bounce that we had, right, was right into that liquidation point that we had at 50K, right? And so what that means is that you have to sell less Bitcoin to make a greater price impact, because you're essentially forcing people to sell who they don't want to sell. Like on a normal day, they would not sell. They don't want to sell, but they're forced to sell, right? And that's what causes sort of this cascade of liquidations, which, before anyone can even come in and buy it. Like, look, people were very happy to buy Bitcoin at at 54 and 52 and 55. The price is back at what is it now? $61,000, right? So why were there so many sells at 50K? Well, they were liquidations, right? Like that's how you do this. Like if you want like a ridiculous outsized return for dumping some Bitcoin, well, you want to dump enough to get it to break those liquidation areas, because that's essentially a free fall, right? So then you can come in and buy, right? So like on that same day, somebody could have sold at 58,000 and on the same day picked it up at 50. Like these are like incredible numbers. Like you got to understand, now that the institutional players are in, like these are insane returns, right? And so within the next 3-4 days now, you're up from a 50. You could have even got as low as, on my chart it's like 49, but let's just use 50 because it's a round number. From 50 to $60,000. I mean, holy shit, and just not even a week. Like who's not going to take that, right? So that's kind of like my argument, and I'm saying that because those liquidation areas are very you could tell by like how yellow the liquidation areas are. If you look at the one that I point out, if you look at the very bottom of the chart, I highlighted it so you could see where that yellow bar actually is on the chart, and it's at about $26,000. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that like until that gets cleared up, I don't think Bitcoin makes new, like maybe it'll wick or
Is
something like
that
that, but it
liquidity
will
chart
not
that you
trade a higher.
posted? Is that shorts and longs at each level?
Right. So the shorts are obviously everything
Right.
above the price, right? So if you look up towards 70, you're going to see that there's a liquidation area around like it's probably like 72 to like 76,000 or something like that. That's everybody kind of
So
shorting the tops.
that wick pretty much destroyed all of that supply at 50,000.
Exactly. So you see how it's all cleared
Yeah.
up now? It's very small on the chart, but if you zoom in, you'll see that there is no more coloring. There's no
And
more
what website
shading
was this, by
now
the
that
way?
CoinGlass.
Okay, CoinGlass, cool.
Yeah, they have two different models that you can look at. I mean, they show the same thing. There are different ways of getting to it. But yeah, like so essentially when you short, right? So I'll give you guys like a quick lesson on this. When you short, you want to take out as much leverage as possible, right? Because you want as much money as possible, with investing the least amount possible. That's just like kind of how it is. And what you want to do is you want to set up your liquidation point so that it's above the last high. Like, so if you're in a downtrend, like we went over this, right? Like, how do you know Bitcoin's in a downtrend, even though the price seems to keep going pretty high up, like 70,000 and all of that? Well, if you look at the chart, you're making lower lows and lower highs. Lower lows, lower highs. That's a downtrend, right? Like on paper. So when you look at that, what you're basically setting up your leverage against is to say that we will continue a downtrend. We will not make higher highs. So if my liquidation point is above the highs, right, I'm safe, right? That means that Bitcoin would actually have to make like pretty much new all-time highs for me to get liquidated. I feel safe with that, or like as safe as could be. Like, at least I'll have time to respond. And on the downside, you pretty much do the same thing. Unfortunately, because of the way this chart broke out, right? Like you see how everyone set their liquidation price. Like the most capital is set to liquidate right below that low that we had right before the October pump of last year. Like remember, we basically broke out like September going into October when the whole like Israel Gaza shit started. Remember that? So
Yeah,
that's where pretty much everybody placed their long liquidation points, right? And there's some people who got in later, and you have like a really big. What I'm afraid of happening is that the next time this goes down into like 40, all of those people who are going to be liquidated between 30 and 40 are going to fold. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of that money get taken off the table at this next sort of like. I still think it's a dead cat bounce. Like I could be wrong. The other option is this could be like a giant bear flag or a bull flag, and we'll see that too. I mean, that could also happen. So I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that the way it gets down to like 25,000 is the people right below 40 all get liquidated, and at this point, the government alone has enough Bitcoin to do that by themselves. That's like without anybody else even selling anything, So that's kind of where my math plays
What are
out.
your
That's how
thoughts
we get
about the
to.
so I think the Ethereum ETF this week, $354 million in inflows. What are your thoughts on what sort of effect that's going to have on the market at large?
All right, so here's the problem with the ETFs. Okay, when Bitcoin whipped on the weekend, right? You got to remember, like most of that valuation was lost on the weekend. Guess what? You can't sell on the weekend.
ETF liquidity.
You can't sell ETFs on the weekend. There's no liquidity, and they're closed. The market's closed, right? But as soon as the markets opened, what happened? We pumped, right? We pumped. We essentially saved everybody's ass. And now people are trying to go short, right? They think that this is the time. They're all getting absolutely smoked right now because these are the biggest gains Bitcoin has seen in months. Like if you look at the size of these candles, like these are like gains we were getting back in like February. Like like if you look at it on the chart, like the size of these candles past couple days, like I don't know. All right, so on the 8th, which was yesterday, right? That's a almost 12% candle on Bitcoin. Like